All right, welcome everybody to this Friday Live with Cha Rules. This is an hour that I set aside for y'all where y'all can use me to ask any and all questions of anything relating to nature, spirit, or commerce. Anything that's going on in your lives. I've been a mentor and a counselor for a very long time, and I'm basically setting this aside to help everyone on the best way that I can on a case-by-case basis, and that's what it means to reach people in equity. I'm trying to raise everybody's enlightenment and elevation to a higher understanding of how we can all operate in unity. We've been taught basically to be divided, and there's always got to be a winner and a loser, and positive and negative and all this stuff, but I'm here to try to bring enlightenment on how we're all together in this in unity. And that's one of the hardest things to grasp, because the natural light shows division when really we're all tied together in it, and we're all tied together in the consciousness and all that stuff. Just got back done from doing bachata class. It's fun. I only got one more class left. I'm killing it out there. I'm telling you, I'm a real fast learner, and that's with a lot of different things. There's certain things I'm not good at, but as a general basis rule of thumb, I'm pretty quick at learning. Before I did bachata class, the only other dance class I'd ever done was ballroom dancing. So that's like a complete different, whole different world. My grandfather wanted to get me into ballroom dancing for some reason, and I was like, kind of dropped that out. And doing some bachata, and it's a very, very unique, beautiful experience to, matter of fact, so I hope y'all enjoyed your New Year's. I went to a club, and it was like the second time I'd ever been to a social network where dancing is involved, that's other than just kind of the music that I've grown up with as a kid, because I didn't grow up with Spanish music or anything. But anyway, I go to this club, and it is the first one we went to. It was blaring music so loud that it was like deafening my ears, and we go in there and everybody looked like victims. It was so weird. Nobody was dancing. Everybody was all against the side, and everybody, like when we went in, they looked at us with these big eyes, like looking like, save me from this place. And it just felt so weird. We rolled out. The next place we went to, it was so packed. It was shoulder to shoulder. And I learned a new dance move from being in this environment. Apparently, you can elbow people really freaking hard, like boom, 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 while you're dancing, to keep them away from you. Because, get out my space, get out my space. So I was just up in there like a pinball going bing, 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 like bouncing off of people. And I was like, oh, that's a good move. I gotta learn to throw them bows while you dancing to keep people out your space. That was a lot of fun, but. I hope y'all had a great New Year. Even though this isn't really the proper New Year, because there used to be 13 months and there was 1,000 years added, and they done all kinds of things to commercialize all these holidays and all these times that basically just benefit corporations. That's what it's all about. It's about corporate interests at the end of the day when you look at it, bottom dollar, and what they're trying to push, all the illusion of freedom of celebrations and stuff on these weird pagan holidays that everybody gets involved in. But anyway, long story short, the New Year is not the real true New Year, but I was out celebrating it with somebody, and I had a lot of fun. There was this cool Jamaican reggae remix song that was playing, and did a lot of dancing. It was a little awkward at first because, it was just me and someone else in this huge mansion. We were in a huge hotel mansion, and but it was a lot of fun, drank a little champagne, and started the new year. So I hope y'all had a great New Year's. I did successfully stop smoking cigars on my birthday. I had one since then, but other than that, I've quit that. So that was like a gift to myself, and we're starting out this new year. Had a lot of accounting and ledgering to do, but that's all part of the game when you're playing in the commercial realm. So again, guys, feel free to ask any and all questions. This hour is set aside. I put here specifically for y'all so that you can use me, and because I give free consultations and I help a lot of people. I've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and I am shadow banned to the fullest. So if you're lucky to be on this live, because they don't really promote it out very far, and they also are throttling down on my videos substantially. And I was going to put out a video this week, but I think I'm going to put it out in a couple days. I've actually bought some of the props and stuff that I'm going to use. It's probably going to be another 10, 13, 14-hour video that I put in effort, and it goes out to 150, or I get 150 likes from it, And it's funny because I've actually been planning on making a contribution to my fans and followers video once I reach 200,000 likes, and I've been planning that for like 5 months, and because I used to get massive amounts of likes until I suddenly got shadow banned, and I'm really hesitant to put out any more videos because now I have to lie, and I don't like lying, and it just kind of puts me in a situation where basically my video will not go out anywhere unless I say this is a lie, this is fake, this is, which is a lie. That's like the only thing that's going to be a lie. But I just hate, I don't like lying. So, but in order for my videos to not get removed completely as soon as I post it, or at least go out to 100 people anymore, I have to basically say that this is all a lie. This is all fake make-believe. This is a joke, and I really don't like doing that because I like coming from a place of peace and honesty. And you want to see true shadow bans. I was actually going to take a picture of this. I put a short video on YouTube, and it literally it's been almost a week, and it went out to one person. It only went out to one. It was probably a bot. It's probably just a bot view. I'm talking. That's how throttled down I am. Yeah, one view. It was shown in somebody's feed one time. And that's how YouTube, throttled down I am on YouTube. And TikTok is in somewhat similar fashion. They allow sometimes some of my stuff to go out to a few people, but it ain't nothing like it used to be. And I don't know what's going to happen in the next coming weeks. From what I've seen, Trump said, he got billions of views from this app, so he doesn't want to see it go anywhere. So that's kind of good news, because this is one of the platforms that has allowed me to reach millions of people, even though now I'd have to put out probably 28,000 videos to reach a million people now. But it just, it's some of the stuff that I like, and at least it's out there. But in order to even find me, you'd have to either subscribe or you'd have to continuously check on my homepage. You'd have to hunt me down because they're not notifying people when I go out, and they're removing. They're showing specific. It's crazy what they can do with the app when you're on the control side of it. Like they can show certain people that I don't have any likes on my videos. I don't know if y'all have ever gone on a video and it says it has 0 views, 0 likes, 0 stuff like that. Like they're trying to throttle it down or look like it's not going anywhere. And that's kind of what's happening to me on this stuff. But again, guys, feel free to ask any questions. One on Kansas soil. I like that. That's is that a shout out to the Wizard of Oz on Kansas soil? You have any content on Odyssey? No, I don't think so. What's the Odyssey? Is that like? I mean, I've heard the word, and I think there's a lot of different content and media that has Odyssey on it. But what's it in relation to? I thought on Kansas soil that was like a good shout out to the Wizard of Oz because that's what the movie originally was about. Not the new one with the Wicked, although there was some political agendas that were mentioned in the new movie. The old one was all about 1933 when they took the gold away from the money, and it just everything flipped into black and white into corporations. And when Dorothy says we're not in Kansas anymore, what that meant was they were switched into everybody's operating in a commercial capacity in the bankrupt new corporation known as the U.S. and everybody needed corporations in order to do business with them. And that's kind of what my next video is going to be about. It's going to show kind of the duality between national and citizen and stuff, and different ways to operate and stuff. And it'll probably get banned immediately unless I say it's completely fake, false, and satire and all that stuff, which again, I can't stand doing that because it's a lie, So here I am. What do? I don't want to lie. I also want to continue to educate and help and enlighten people, but I'm completely shadow banned. If I don't say that it's a complete lie and garbage, they will completely remove my video and violate me. So now what do? Do I find another platform? Do I, because it ain't YouTube, that's for sure. So I'm not sure if I should, try to go to a different type of social media or something. I have wanted to make some videos to help people on baby step education stuff, like where it's more easily understandable to some of the foundations that need to be laid and understood before you start trying to operate on certain things. And some people just can't handle it. It just is what it is. I try to put all the best knowledge and information that I've gathered from 13, 14 years out. And I've got this lawyer, oh my goodness. I've got this attorney that is going to town. I think it's a she, and she is just like, it almost when someone is so combative against like I'm not specifically trying to attack attorneys. I'm not specifically trying to mention that they are indoctrinated, but they're just a tool that you can use. That they're taught a specific limited view of the world, and they are basically being used by the people that created their education to fleece U.S. citizens to keep funneling money to the crown. That's what an attorney's basically job is, to return you back to the public. And this attorney, if it's a she, I don't know, is just going to town on my videos, just coming in. This attorney told me I wasted 10 years of my life because I've studied outside of public mainstream narratives and kind of occult, esoteric knowledge type of situations. And I'm like, 10 years is not a waste when you enjoy knowledge and helping others, and they're just coming from a very unprofessional, unpeaceful place, and it is what it is. But on Kansas soil, you are a Missourian on Kansas soil. That's awesome. Are you operating in the Republic? Are you operating on the Republic sovereign Kansas soil, or how's that work? Because again, the next video that I'm going to make is I got to figure out how I'm going to do the camera angles and different things, but I'm going to kind of show how the different jurisdictions operate within the Republic and the DC, and but you kind of have to piggyback off of my Sovereign in Court number 6 in order to grasp the foundations. And that's kind of how I make my videos. You've got to stitch them together. You got to grab all the pieces, because that's what I did in my life, in my walk, and it's kind of made that way on purpose, because if you can't put all the pieces together, you're not really going to be able to grasp and walk on your own. That's why I don't mind giving some helpful consultation one-on-one through messages, because you can text me, you can email me, you can DM me, you can write me, you can ask questions on here on Kansas soil. Attempting to be part of the Union State citizen. So according to the Secretary of State.gov, all you have to do, a state citizen is a person, which is quote unquote, a person is a corporation, is a state, as a citizen that owes allegiance to a state, and it has lowercase state, lowercase state, which means it's sovereign. And this is some of the foundational knowledge that a lot of people don't have, is if a word has a capital letter to the first letter, it has underlying duties and obligations and a definition to it. So if you look at the Constitution, you'll see a lot of the letters, like liberty and stuff like that, have a capital letter, which means there's an underlying specific definition or duties or obligations to it. It's not free and clear. If you have state, like, for instance, Virginia, if it's all lowercase, that's a sovereign Republican state. Kansas soil, TC, appreciate all your knowledge and what you share. Thank you. I appreciate y'all. Like I said, I've been wanting to make a thank you and shout out to all my fans, but I was trying to release it when I hit 200,000 likes, and it's going to probably take me another 7 months to get 200,000 likes at 100 likes a video that I make, and I'll get, I'll spend 15, 16 hours on a video, and then they'll remove it immediately if I don't say it's fake, and it just, I hate saying that. And what is this, Jay Martyr? Are you leveraging a foreign trust? I think we all are, because the U.S. is foreign, so whenever we're operating with the U.S. citizens, we're leveraging a trust. But there are so many different ways to operate out there in the commercial world. You got S Corp, C Corp, sole proprietorships, LLCs, you got corporation souls, you got foundations, you got on and on and on. The U.S. citizen is an individual trust. That's what it's classified as. But it is, D.C. is a foreign occupant that has taken over kind of everything on the board game that everybody's operating in, and believes that's the truth, And I got to catch myself, because sometimes I don't come from peace, and that's where I have to always operate in, no matter what, even when someone's being belligerent and attacking. And when I was talking to this attorney, that's I guess, I don't know if they're trying to fish for they're bored or something, or just anybody to argue with, but I almost told them, your jurisdiction ends where DC's line stops. I'm like, that's where there's your play box, okay? I'm like, I'm outside of that. I ain't got to deal with that stuff. Bill Baker, thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for the follows, the likes, and the shares. Much appreciated. On Kansas soil, I'm foreign to everyone. And that's if you start becoming enlightened and you start operating on a higher energetic vibration and field, everybody can kind of sense that. And That's one of the reasons why you end up being separated, and that's part of day 2 on the spiritual walk, is becoming separate from the world and worldly people. And part of that is because we're much like resonating tuning forks, and a lot of these big corporations know this stuff. So when you're watching a comedy show, there's a reason why they play all these people laughing in the background, because we start to operate on the frequencies of that which we are surrounded in. And when you are coming from a higher, more peaceful, more knowledgeable come from in vibration and frequency, that all of the energies around you that aren't able to come in tune with you, it starts to kind of push them away. It starts to like feel real weird to be around you, because you're coming from love, you're coming from a heightened elevation and frequency of light and energy and peace, and it feels weird to them. It makes them feel uncomfortable because they're operating down on a very animalistic low vibration and chakra, and being like very, very simple. And that's sometimes simple and ignorance is bliss. It's beautiful, But if you're coming from a very high place, that's one of the reasons why you'll find yourself having less and less friends. And that's why the Creator said, I've come to bring a sword on this earth. I've come to bring division in a household, amongst father, amongst son, amongst daughter, amongst sister, and stuff like that. Is because when you start this journey and this walk of becoming one with the creators, and understanding that you are a creator. It's like a 3-part stage. Step 1 is understanding that you're not the actual, you're not the player in the game. You're the one that's playing the game. That's a whole different come from. And then the 3rd level is understanding that you're actually the one that created the game, and that's how you're able to shape your reality through your own energy and thoughts and consciousness, and able to do all kinds of things. But part of that journey and that walk, there will be a lot of course tests and trials, but there will also be a lot of people that won't be able to vibe with you or be on the same frequency as you, because you're coming from a much higher place of energy and peace and love, and it kind of makes them feel uncomfortable. So they'll naturally not want to be around you, because they don't want to come from that level. I've been around family and stuff, and I start talking about knowledge or start talking about health or something, and they're just deer in the headlights. Don't really, just kind of like, I don't want to talk about health. I don't want to talk about education. I want to see who's twerking on TV with the latest Nikes. Like that's where they're at, and it's like, okay, let them be where they're at. You can always just the hardest part about mentoring or ministering to people is offering a safe place and just planting seeds, and eventually, if you're not planting seeds in unfertile soil, it can start to plant and grow, and you just got to water it occasionally, and see what happens. But again, guys, thanks for joining this live. Recap of the audio will be in my Telegram group. The video will be on YouTube. You can browse on my website, which is linked on my profile page of TikTok. All of my social medias are on my website. It's Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life. I've created playlists to help re-educate everybody on a case-by-case. If you go through them all, it should cover almost everything. Not a lot of people like doing all that because it does take a couple hours, but I have created those playlists to help re-educate you. So if you take some time to browse around through that, it'll be very beneficial to understanding how everything's all tied together, nature, spirit, and commerce, and all the 3 lights, and how we all operate as one. Even though it's like we're all separate, we're also all one, just like cells in a body, But anyway, feel free to ask any all questions. I got 25 messages. Let me scroll down. J. Marta, a trust with an off-soil address. There's pretty much no... unless you're hailing the jurisdiction of a specific parcel of land that you hold controlling title to, most likely any trust that you are dealing with is going to be in a corporate status. It's going to be in a fictional type of status, but 2 sovereigns can contract any way they want. But if you're creating a trust that's on the soil, then that's outside of like DC jurisdiction, that's out of state jurisdiction, that's outside of all kinds of things, and you're able to do a lot of different things. If you're doing a off of the United States address or foreign jurisdiction, other than trying to avoid taxes or using a pass-through or something like that, there's no real benefit to trying to have an offshore account to do anything, because depending on where the money's coming from, if it's a U.S. citizen that's engaged in it, they're only allowed to donate certain amounts. But for instance, if a U.S. citizen is donating money into a trust or to a sovereign or something like that, once the U.S. citizen has paid the taxes from, if it was engaged in for-profit in a federal zone, once it has paid taxes on the money that it received, and it moves money that it is allowed to, because you got to remember, you can control what you create, and the U.S. citizen was created by the state and it is bound by the federal rules and guidelines of how it operates. So it can only move certain amounts of money within certain codes and policies. If you move too much money, there could be a federal investigation and stuff. But if you do it properly from the U.S. citizen, and then you get into like a foundation or a corporate soul or something that is outside, or a sovereign trust or something that's outside of U.S. jurisdiction, you can do a lot more stuff. Unless you're using Federal Reserve notes, and there are some linchpins because it is someone else's property. All right, we are down to on Kansas soil. Working on my hold harmless with my ends legis. Yeah, that sounds like some old school technology. I think I did that about 13 years ago when you're going through the secured party creditor stuff. You put a hold harmless, and you do a bond, and you do an offshore office and stuff like that. And all that teaches you a lot of different ways to do business, which is good, but it is false what they're pushing as far as trying to make you invincible from something that isn't even yours. Because the U.S. citizen belongs to the state. When I first started, I was under the impression that a U.S. citizen was keeping me in darkness, and it was keeping me bound. But then I realized after about 7 years that it's just a tool that you can use. It's not you. You're not a corporation. You can't be. I mean, in a sense, you are like a bank, because you take in energy, you take in frequencies, you take in food, you take in light and energy and love, and you can also put out energy as well. So we're always banking to some degree in some way, but we're not actually corporations. Not in their world. Spicy Charles, I'm working on SBC. Can I hire you to do it for me, please? I find it hard to trust anyone. Spicy, SBC is old school technology. You can go on my website under class UCL, and I have a free 24-week SBC course that you can take that I paid $1,500 or $1,200 for about 10 years ago or something. But it's there for everybody, but it's not the correct way to operate. If you want to know what the stuff that I teach, watch my playlist. I talk about status and standing, and coming from trust and equity. That's the kind of stuff that I teach, which is kind of more of a spiritually higher type of operating. But SPC is garbage because you're trying to put a lien on someone else's property that's not yours, that you didn't create. If you want to, now don't get me wrong, the state that created the citizen, they do allow you to do a lot of different things. You're allowed to create trusts for it, wills for it. You're allowed to basically set off debts in the public and the private with it and stuff like that. Like, they allow you to do a lot of different things with it, but you just got to know how to operate properly. All right, is there another question? Okay, here we are. Spicy, banking promissory notes. Did I miss a question? Hold on. I just see banking. Spicy. Charles, I'm working on SBC. Can I hire you to do it for me, please? I find it hard to trust anyone. Banking promissory notes. So I typically don't hold people's hands for baby steps, but I have created the playlist to help re-educate from foundation all the way up to becoming basically very, very masterful and understanding everything. Okay, I mean, I'm talking these playlists should change your world. And I always suggest to people to take notes as they read them as well, or watch them. But it does take a couple hours. TC, thanks again for being a loyal follower. I really appreciate everybody that likes coming on here and becoming re-educated, because that's what this time is set aside for. I'm giving this consultation for free to anybody that wants to ask any and all questions. And other than that, you can DM me, which takes a little bit longer, or message me and stuff like that. Again, guys, if you want to watch this live, it'll be on YouTube. It'll go out to about 5 people. If you want to listen to the audio, it'll be in my Telegram group. Feel free to browse around on all of my social medias, have exclusive content, which is linked on my profile page of TikTok on my website, which is Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life. If you scroll down a little bit on it, you'll see all my different social medias. I've created playlists to help re-educate everybody, and I always ask and suggest to everybody to watch that, because then you'll know what I talk about, what I teach, and I say a lot of things, and it takes time. And honestly, this whole language, it's like a whole different language. When you start trying to understand legalese and start understanding contract laws and banking and financial language and stuff like that, it's like a whole nother language, and it takes time. It's just like anything. It's like anything, like a program, like a new dance, like a new girl or boyfriend or whatever. It takes time to learn all these little things, and that's just part of understanding. And you got to also do a balance. All right, you have to balance life, because Like I said, I've been on the spectrum on the end where I see people that's done studying for 20, 30, 40 years and they wish that they didn't spend all that time doing that. And I've been on people in the very beginning that are like ready to start running and they're going to fall and hit their face really hard because there's a lot of misinformation out of there that sounds really, really good. And because it is outside of mainstream media and narratives, it sounds like it's got to be true. Oh, because it's, they didn't teach us in school. Well, a lot of times it just has a little bit of truth in it. And I've taken many, many, many years to put a lot of different puzzle pieces together, and I laid foundations that can't be shaken, but I always open the door for any opposing views or opposing information, which, I always accept with a grain of salt, and I always test them. I always test and try anybody who wants to try to shake my foundations that I've laid. So, anyway, again, guys, feel free to ask any of y'all questions with this time set aside for Spicy. I can't thank you enough for how great and calm operating in peace. Yeah, it takes a while, and trust me, my kids get me out of my square sometimes. It's hard to come from peace and love when you got a little screaming crazy little baby in your face that just like doesn't care about anything, wants to draw on the walls and scratch your eyeballs out and stuff. It's really hard to come from peace and love like that. But Kansas soil, they didn't want us to figure things out. No, they don't. And that is not how you control people when you think about it. If you have massive amounts of people, they know all the little tips and tricks on how to control everybody. It's just so simple. You keep them in fear, you feed them misinformation, and you entertain them. What is it, bread and circuses? And everybody's just running around in loops. And it only takes a couple generations to indoctrinate everybody. Look at the original. If Moors or Indians or whoever was here originally, when they got kidnapped and re-encamped and all their names changed and stuff like that, and they got rid of all their previous stuff, they whitewashed everything, and that's what happens when somebody gets conquered. It just is what it is. It's not pretty. It's not clean. But when someone gets conquered, they change all their names from White Wolf to John. This is now John, and he came from this parent and stuff. And really, what is important is the youth. And you'll see a lot of the media is attacking our youth. They're trying to get the younger generations to think that there's 7,000 different genders. They're trying to get the younger generations to think it's okay to be involved with certain activities at a very young age that people aren't ready for. For instance, a lot of the kids that are in school, they don't have filters, and they're all being taught wrong. I felt from the bottom of my heart when I was in school that something didn't feel right when I was in school. It just didn't feel right. I was sitting in there, and I didn't know at the time that I was being taught false information, and I was being indoctrinated the entire time. You're supposed to pledge allegiance to a flag, and then you're supposed to just sign your name at the top of all the contracts before you read it. That's not the proper way. They're indoctrinating you to create employees. And I've done a video on the foundation of what the education system is for. It is for creating employees. They don't want you to think critically. They don't want you to think outside the box. They want you to obey authority, keep your nose down, and don't make any waves. And that's it. And that's how you can control all the people. It's through education and media and fear and all that stuff. And then on top of being bombarded with chemtrails, Wi-Fi, and all this other stuff. All right, Spicy, the UCC1, taking control of straw man, have value, copyright. So you can't copyright a name, but you can trademark it, And the U.S. citizen was created by the state. It wasn't created by you. You can only control that which you create. Okay, these are foundations that I lay. This is why it's important to watch the playlist that I've created. So the U.S. citizen was not created by you. An application was submitted by your mom to the corporate state in order to create that entity. What's up, Black Swan? Thanks for the gummy bear. Much appreciated for your gifts. They will definitely be used to help me on my walk to help others. I do appreciate it. So the UCC1 is a very powerful tool. It's more powerful than the president. Like the U.S. president can't even undo one. But you've got to have a contract in place, an agreement between the parties on there. And a lot of the SBC teaches you, like watch my misinformation videos, because I talk about the SBC. Watch the playlist that I've created. I've created it to try to help everybody, because out on my 13-year walk, not only have I watched tons of people go to jail for doing false stuff that they thought was the best that they could at the time. But I've also watched and gone down a lot of different rabbit trails trying to learn. And I've basically spent this time, and it sucks that I'm shadow banned and I'm throttled down so much because I'm doing my best to try to help other people from making all the mistakes that I did. And now I have to lie and say it's all fake and false. And I don't like doing that on my videos. So maybe I'll get somebody else to say it. That might be a good way to basically, so I'm not lying. I'll get somebody else to say that thing, and then I'll just post it on every video. That might be the way to do it. That way it's like I'm not really lying, but it's still there. That way they'll keep the video up, and they won't ban it, and at least then it'll be there, even though it won't go out to many people. But anyway, Philip Harhill, Ball-Loney. What's Ball-Loney? Spicy. The system is designed to protect itself. Its purpose is to stay relevant. Yes, it's like a geared machine that is operating, and that's kind of the fictional way that everything operates. It's a bankrupt system, and it's kind of hinged on protecting itself to continue running, right? And you can't control everybody if they knew that we were all sovereign and we were all, like these unbelievable creators that can shape our reality through all the contracts that we keep and make on a day-to-day basis. They want everybody, obviously, thinking that they're U.S. citizens, which is just a corporation that they created and have control over, but we're not that. We are so much more above and beyond all that. Kansas Soul, changing words, meanings, woman instead of woman. Woman. I always thought it was whoa men because hot chicks do whoa men because they are hot and they are pretty and they're very beautiful, and it's whoa. It's like whoa man, you see that girl? No, I mean it's just a different type of energy. Women are very, very powerful and beautiful, and masculine energy is beautiful as well, and it's being attacked on all levels. It's just kind of like a shift, and it's extremely hard to try to tell a very beautiful young girl not to create an OnlyFans account, which, there's 1.4 million of them now created from 18 to 24-year-old females, and there's 86 million men on there that are just ready to pay them and look at them and like them for just shaking their booty, and it's hard to tell a girl not, that's not really a very healthy path for her energy, is to just basically try to get attention from all these random guys, It's hard, but when it really switches around is around age 30 is kind of when girls kind of wake up from the false feminine movement that they've been fed with, masculine energy is all damaging and bad and all this stuff, and it's just hard to find the right balance. It's all about balancing. Black Swan. Hey, spicy war flag to boot. Yeah, they do. It's a infringed war flag, and I've done my best to try to dig up the civil peace flag, which is the vertical striped one. You can go into court with that on your chest whenever you have to deal with some of that stuff. Black Swan, how is it going, brother? How are you? I'm doing good. I just finished bachata class. I'm here feeling good, setting this time aside. Like I love trying to help everybody, and it's just it's just part of my peaceful walking path and stuff. I've been kind of chill today, done a whole lot of work and stuff, but also been relaxing too, like balancing with kids and family and life, and just having fun, enjoying the ride. It's just definitely been a wild roller coaster for sure. Hopefully this year ain't gonna be no different. I think 2025 is gonna be wild. I really do. Hopefully the economy will change some when we have an actual, not deep fake president that's operating out there, but we will see. Black Swan, Spicy, mom as grantor. If you look at everything as a trust, and it is. Everything is in trust, but most people can't handle anything beyond the duality of public, private, positive, minus, rich, poor, sad, happy, sun, dark, light, stuff like that. Everything is actually in trust. My words are in trust, relationships are in trust, money's in trust. You trust that the chair will hold you when you sit on it, stuff like that. So if you look at your mom as the grantor when she created the application for the live birth, that would mean that there's only two more parties left, okay? She was the grantor of the application that was submitted, but then from there, the state kind of took ownership and control of creating, they created the actual U.S. citizen. But your mom was the grantor of the application, but from there, the state became the grantor of the U.S. citizen, and we switched. There's a lot of different parties, a lot of different beneficiaries, and a lot of different trustees on that trust that operate on public and private, and a lot of it just starts branching out. It gets kind of crazy from there. But in simple terms, your mom was the grantor. Your mom and dad obviously created you, right? They were the grantors that created you, and then from there she would be the grantor that submitted the application. She was the grantor of the application that was the I would say the firing pin to create the U.S. citizen. But the U.S. citizen is created by the state. It's issued. For instance, if your mom put that application in the mail and she sent it to her aunt or her cousin or whatever, the U.S. citizen wouldn't have been created, but she still would have been the grantor of that application. And what you can do, and I have a video on this. I have this as having a child without the state or something like that. I have a lot of different videos, but Spicy went from 30K followers to not even able to post. Oh, you did? Yeah, it sucks. I think right around when TikTok was having to change ownership and they were coming down real heavy is when they started throttling down a lot of people. One of my favorite friends on here, she had to start putting nothing but hot girl photos. Like, she's a very smart girl, and she was putting out all this stuff, and it started getting banned and started getting warned. So then she just starts posting all the hot girl stuff. It's like, here's me, brushing my teeth. Here's me, just to try to put some distance between her warnings and her, trying to put out knowledge. And I've done stuff. I've put out a poem. I put out a poem and it got banned. Like, that's how bad. Like, it was just a poem that I wrote when I was 18 about spiritual stuff, and it got banned. Like crazy. Anyway, TC, for entertainment purposes, that seems to save content for some stupid reason. No, the last one, my Sovereign in Court Part 6, I tried to appeal it. I said it's for entertainment purposes only. I have it on the beginning of all of my videos, but it still, it wasn't enough. So I had to step it up some, saying this is a fictional video. I had to say this is a fictional video, and now I've got to say stuff like this is false, it's for entertainment purpose, it's satire, don't believe me. Like, I have to say put all that in there, or it's just it ain't happening, and I just don't want to do that. So I might try to have someone say that or film it and alter the audio and stuff. That way it's not really me, but then it'll still be there at least, and then they'll allow me to at least continue to keep posting. All right, whoa, what's up, Black Swan? You got a lot of questions. Yo, I have been digging deep into the history of and the texts of Judaism and what they teach in Hebrew texts. It's intense. They literally teach this entire commercial system to their people. You family with the nature of the header Iska joint venture they use with FI that makes everything. That's very interesting. The Jewish people, I think, are tied into a lot of like the Mossad and stuff like this. They are intertwined into almost everything, like controlling everything, and into the ins and outs of it's just insane, like how they've infiltrated almost everything. But a lot of mysticism schools, a lot of occult schools, Skull and Bones and stuff, they teach that stuff from day one, and that would change. Just imagine how different everybody would be if they were taught in school, that they were taught about taxes, they were taught about business, taught about trust, taught about how powerful a signature is, taught about all the stuff that they don't want you to know about, right? Taught about how to truly, how biology really works and being healthy, and that the U.S. citizen is a tool from a bankrupt corporation that you can use to engage in commerce with. There's a public and private side to it, and it's trust and stuff. Just imagine how different everything would be if everybody was taught the truth, But if you can't give certain people certain knowledge, and that's why a handful of people at the top of all these things try to control everybody and everything through different vast corporate interests. It's just kind of how it all works. Spicy, she was also the creator. Her intention has value. Yes. So if you're talking about the application, so your mom and or your dad could have picked the different symbols that were the name, but the name alone is not what creates the U.S. citizen. It's also the Social Security number, the tax identification number, because the vessel needs a whole number in order to sail the seas of commerce with. So if she the Social Security Administration is the grantor of the tax identification number, even though your mom might have been the grantor to submit the application. But if you're talking about you, the creator, the true creator of the spiritual realm is kind of the one that everything controls the natural. Okay, so like for instance, like your mom couldn't pick like what color eyes you had or what shape nose you had or stuff like that, but on that application, yeah, she could have reserved rights, she could have done certain things, but it really would have amounted to a hill of beans at the end of the day, because the state would have still created the U.S. citizen in the same manner. They create the U.S. citizen even if you don't give them a name. They'll be like baby girl John or something. They'll use your mom's last name and put baby girl, and that's the name of the corporation, or baby boy. So that's the name of the corporation that they created or hinge off of and start banking and monetizing off of in the background, even if you don't submit that the application properly. Are you Black Swan? Oh. Did I do that? Are you familiar? No, I'm not familiar with Header Iska joint venture. I haven't heard that. Supremacy clause, correct. Their heir comes from your mother's side. Okay. Spicy, she was also the creator. Her intention has value. Yes, it's all about intention and actions as well. That is very true. But her intentions were to comply with what the dock, when the vessel was berthed through the canal and was brought to the dock, then the dock, in order for the bill of lading of the property that was being transferred over, needed to have proper documentation. That's kind of how the system's set up. That her intention was just to comply with, heavily under medication typically, to comply with what the doctors were saying and doing, even though she had no clue about commercial contracts or that the U.S. citizen was going to be an individual trust that was created for you and stuff like that. Black Swan, purchase into a investment turning them in. Hold on. Purchase into a investment turning them into the investor of the purchase rather than a debtor. That's kind of hurting my head. I've had a long day. Purchase into a investment turning them into the investor of the purchase rather than a debtor. Okay, yeah, I don't know. We'd have to chat a little bit about that. Supremacy clause. I believe that the fencer did that to us, the citizen, that is. The fencer? Oh, the census. Excuse me. The census is the one that labeled U.S. citizens. So the census is what just kind of gets a count number, and I learned a trick a long time ago on the censuses. So they have a bunch of pages on them that you don't have to fill out. In any form, I mean, you don't have to anyway. It's all about offer and acceptance. But from the government standpoint, if you want to go by codes and policies and statutes, when they send you a census, there's only one page that has the OMB number. Any page that does not have or show a valid OMB number, you do not have to fill out. So page 1 will just be like how many people are in this household and like what are their ages or something like that. Then page 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 was like, what school did you go to? Where did you grow up? What did you eat for lunch? What's your driver's license? What is all these different pages that are on the Census Bureau that don't have OMB numbers that everybody just voluntarily fills out. They don't have to. But if you understand the truth, whenever and I actually wasn't gonna fill it out at all, but they sent me like 17 notices. They just kept sending them and sending them and sending them and sending. They were like, oh, we're getting ready to come around and knock on your door and stuff, and we're coming and I was just over it, and I was like, all right, I will fill out this one page. I was like, there's four people here, or sorry, persons, because that's all they can deal with in the public, in the bankrupt system is persons. I was like, there's 4 persons here, and their ages are blah blah blah. And then on all the other pages, no valid OMB number. Here's your code. No valid OMB number. No valid OMB number. Send it back. Done. All right, Tone. We are friends. Just sharing information. They can own my supremacy clause. They can own your business. That's funny. Yeah, I mean, they created it. You can create your own business that's inside or outside of their jurisdiction. You can do certain things to interface with them, but you have to have some type of corporation or an agent to interface with them because that's what they can deal with. Tone, where can I get the instruction on how become a secured party creditor? All right, if you want that false teaching narrative, which I suggest against, I suggest against the SPC process because it is a garbage, misleading, lacking, unknowledgeable, half-baked truth process. Okay, if you want that, it is free on my website under class UCL. You can look in there. It's a 24-week course. I went through it. I went through it like 10 years ago before I realized it was garbage. Anybody can go through it. It's right there for everybody. I paid for it. You don't have to pay some guru $2,000 to lead you astray. You can look at my lead you astray for free on my website that I paid for a long time ago. So feel free to go through that SPC process if you want. And they all teach the same thing. They teach you to illegally create a bond, which you're not authorized to do. They teach you to put a lien on the straw man U.S. citizen, which isn't even your property. They teach you to do some offshore account with a remote office and stuff like that, on and on and on. And then when you get in trouble or get hit by the IRS or get hit by some FOIA or some federal investigation, the guy you paid ain't there no more. They're like, I ain't washed my hands. You sent me money in an envelope, that's untraceable or whatever, because they're all paranoid too. All right, or they're subsidized by the federal government to just create lists of people to watch. Supremacy clause and read. They have lawyers in schools as teachers. They're securitizing your children's paperwork. My friend has a daughter that I think got forced VAC ionated without her knowledge, I believe, during school. Like they do some shicey stuff in there. That's why, I'm thinking about doing the World Citizen Passport for my kids. It's worldcitizen.gov. It seems to be pretty official. They are acceptable in like 150 countries all over. Basically, you're saying that you're a citizen of the earth. You're a citizen of the world. It's like outside of DC jurisdiction. It gives you a lot of documentation that you can use for identification number. They give you a birth certificate and stuff like that. And I might end up doing that for my kids. I just got to do a little more research and stuff if they're ever going to travel and whatnot. Supremacy clause. Some of the notebook spiral ones have 3 QR codes in 3 corners of the paper. Huh? That's wild. That's very interesting. Have you looked up with a QR code or a reader and seen what they say? A lot of the IRS stuff comes with that QR codes on there as well. Like when you get paperwork from them. I'm about to sneeze. All right, the thing jumped. Let me go down. Everything is voluntary. Yes, it is. But we all get tricked. What is consent of the governed? They got children signing. Hold on, where were we? I'm trying to find out where we were. They are the creators of the financial system since 2,000 years ago. Wow. Yeah, they've, the financial, it depends on what you're talking about by financial system, because they used to just use like notches on scales and weights and stuff when they were doing balancing of trading with different commodities, and they had like ledgers and stuff, and then they started trying to store like gold inside of banks or in storage units to try to protect people's money and assets and stuff, and they would lend out. It was always like that. They could never lend out more than what they had because they were always lending out more than what they actually had in reserves. Like that's how the system's always been. Supremacy clause. Especially they got the children signing their autograph on the right. Yeah, so one side's the debtor and one side's the creditor. So I think on a check, if you sign on the right hand side, you're the creditor. If you sign on the left, or is it the other way around? I've heard somebody say they had a judge sign right in the middle because they are really administrators and facilitators of an arena between 2 different parties that are balancing the scale. I can't remember anymore which side the right, if the right is the debtor or the creditor. I think the right is the creditor. That leaves the left side wide open for somebody's autograph. Supremacy, they sure do. They have fake tones with less than 5,000 people in a P.O. box. Goodness gracious. Black Swan, I found the real reason why the politicians have dual citizenship with Israel. This is, and I think a lot of the politicians have dual citizenship in order to even hold their offices. There's 3 positions in the U.S. that have to have dual citizenship, and I used to know all this stuff. Like I used to have it all down pat, but I've been just enjoying too much of life to remember every single little thing anymore. It's just a system that I don't really even support anymore. Kansas soil, everything is voluntary. Yes, it is. Black Swan, we got to talk soon. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. We should catch up sometime. Also, the one message from before doesn't make sense because it's connected to the other. What? Are you talking about stuff you typed? Spicy. Can you speak on World Citizen in its web, please? Yeah, it's worldcitizen.gov. I think that's something that I might want to get instead of trying to do the national with on the Republic side and stuff like that. I think it's just worldcitizen.gov or something. World Citizen. Global citizen, home, world citizen government. That's what it's called. It is actually located. Their office is located in the District of Columbia, but it's called worldcitizen.gov, and they issue really official stuff that people can travel all over the world in or with. But it's basically you're saying that you're a citizen of the earth. It's like you're not pledging allegiance to any corporation. You're not pledging allegiance to any of these bankrupt entities. You're saying, I am a citizen of this earth. Human rights and a sustainable earth. Provider of the world passport, the world citizen card, and other world documents. So it's basically like, within the plane of the walls of the ice that we can play around in. This is what they're basically saying that you're part of. You're just going to be a part of that, playing around on this to take care of it. You're a custodian of the earth. Shalom, no, Yeru Shalom, Yaha Todd, New Jerusalem, Jerusalem. Spicy, no pledge. What? Spicy, yes, you're so right. Ice wall. Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, that's my view, and really, that's another way of understanding when you're trying to mentor and talk to other people. When people love being combative, they love living in a comfortable lie than dealing with the harsh truth. It's easier to deceive people than it is to convince them that they have been deceived. On and on and on. So when you're talking to other people, you got to kind of remember all these things that. Their truth is their truth, okay? And most people haven't put in study. Most people just believe the mainstream narratives. Most people think that somebody has been lower than 8 miles in the crust. So every little image that they show of the Earth that is anything below 8 miles, that's just made up and make-believe because nobody has any clue really what's below 8 miles because nobody's really been down lower than that. Even though, you can do all the research in the world, somebody else hasn't. And their truth is what they've been taught. I mean, it blew my mind when I found out that, we're not on a spinning aimless ball in space that was accidentally created mindlessly, and I didn't crawl from, well, I did crawl from soup. I crawled from my mom's soup, from the Big Bang between her and my dad. That was one of the funniest videos I watched when it was like the evolution theory was based on reality. The Big Bang was in your mom banged your dad, and then you crawled from the spark inside the primordial soup, and then you were like a fish, and then you swam out, and came out to become, a monkey walking around and stuff like that. And it was a real funny video. There's a couple questions, Todd. If someone has a was that a Wyoming LLC and a holding company for privacy concerns, should they create a legacy ECC? I'm trying to catch up on all your abbreviations. I don't know why my nose is running. Guys, a recap of this live will be on YouTube. The audio will be in my Telegram group. Feel free to reach out to me. You can DM me, email me, you can write me, call me. All these stuffs are available for y'all. You can ask any and all questions here on this live. That's what this time is set aside for. I've created playlists to help re-educate everybody. I have exclusive content on all my social medias, which is linked on my website, which is on my profile page of TikTok. It's Anointed New Foundation of Peace.life. So feel free to go through all of my content that I created to help everybody. All right, anyway. Todd, I'm thinking it's a Wyoming LLC and a holding company. So it's just, for instance, it depends on what you're trying to do. That's the big picture. The big picture is what are you trying to do? Because there are so many different ways to do business. And laying these simple foundations is very understandable. Like, you're only taxed on how you do business, okay? And that's it. If you're using Federal Reserve notes, then there could be a tax liability. If you're trading in commodities or stuff that you hold true controlling title to, and you're not operating in the DC jurisdiction, you're operating outside of, people can't say nothing. They can't interfere with contracts. Two sovereigns can contract any way they want. You have the unlimited ability to contract. So it depends on what you're trying to do and what your ultimate goal is. But you can have an LLC that is a trust of a holding company that is a trustee of a foundation that is a beneficiary of pass-through S corp. On and on and on and on. You can have an offshore this that does. That's what a lot of these big ballers do. Is they have entities that have entities that have entities, and they figure out how to have a trustee in Puerto Rico that moves money to Switzerland that's banking and you use the world as a little stage. And you can do certain things. It just depends on what you're trying to do. If you're moving millions of dollars, then I suggest having stuff set up on that kind of level. If you're talking about moving $70, $80 here and there and trying to keep the government out of taking 1/3 of the taxes if you're working in a federal zone for profit, then good luck. because it ain't worth it, and you're going to end up having to pay anyway. Because if you're getting someone else's property, which is a Federal Reserve note, in a Federal Reserve or in a federal zone for profit, there's a tax liability. Simple stuff like that. That's why I lay these foundations for everybody, and that's why I come on here too, because it is kind of complicated. That's why you can also watch the recap of this live on YouTube if you want to see my mouth, but the audio alone it'll be on my Telegram group. Trust. To put the ens legis name in, or should it all be under one? So the ens legis, if you're talking about the U.S. citizen, it was created by the state and it belongs to them. It is you can control what you create. The state created the U.S. citizen. The state allows a lot of different things with the U.S. citizen, but the state created the U.S. citizen, and it is under their control and will forever be. And guess what? Everything that the state has, they gave all the titles to the federal government, who's been pledged to the creditors because the federal government's bankrupt. So all the titles that you register, everything you register to the state has been pledged to the federal government, which has been pledged to the creditors of the U.S. that the U.S. is bankrupt to. Spicy. Do you also believe Jesus Christ was Julius Caesar? What? The anointed one, Joshua, he's many things. And if you look through the Bible, I started coming up with a dictionary. He's got like 80 different things. He's the Prince of Peace, and he's the lion. He's the counselor, the mentor, the wife, like on and on and on. He is anybody who expresses the contract to become one with the Creator, and receives the Holy Spirit, and finishes the 7-day walk to become one with the Creator, and able to bind anything in heaven, on earth, in the water, in the land, and the sea, through your words. But that's who Jesus Christ was, and he never said worship him. He never said I was God, even though if he speaks for an angel, the Holy Spirit, they're all one. He said I and the Creator are one, and that's kind of what he means when he made it through the 7-day walk of becoming one back with the Creator. Because it's very confusing being just in this natural realm, operating as an animal, and operating as an animal in the natural light. It's very hard to remember that there's a spiritual thing going on, because the enemy has placed so many division obstacles out, including 2 different eyes, when we have one of unity here. So everything looks divided, everything looks crazy, but we're all cells in one body, and we're all connected, and it's hard to remember that, because there's so many different things going on, because we're just trying to scratch money together to survive, and it's a lot of confusion. But now I think I answered your question. Todd, Wyoming LLC and Legacy Ecclesiastical Trust. Yeah, so ecclesiastical it's a good way to, nonprofit is how I suggest almost everybody should operate. You can do a lot of almost everything that a for-profit can, except for hide money. Okay, a not-for-profit, depending on how you're operating it. If you're doing something, my favorite entity is a corporation sole, and I have a video on that and information on my website. I have 13 years of studies and documents and all that stuff on my website, like tons and tons of free information for everybody. 24 on here. Phyllis, thanks for the follow. Thanks for shares, likes. Todd, it is a long-term game, basically to set up for things for the future, not necessarily now. Yeah, absolutely. You want to try to get everything in place, depending on, again, if you're just trying to pass stuff on. Again, you can contract outside of DC jurisdiction, and you can do whatever you want, as long as you hold the true controlling title to whatever you're putting into the property. I suggest trust. Trust law is a very high form of law. Spiritual trust is the highest, obviously, in equity. So you can create trusts outside of DC jurisdiction, and you have another one like 2 sovereigns can contract however they want, especially as long as they have the true controlling title of whatever they're moving. Because in order to have a trust, an express trust, you have to have the 5 indicia of expressing all parties, which is the beneficiary, trustee, and grantor, and you have to have property and a purpose. And then from there, those 2 entities can contract however they want. Blueberry back, bro, you are very smart, but you overlook one thing. You X-rated the ens legis. Yeah, you are right, but they did fraudulently, and they get it without us knowing behind our backs. So you're able to take control of it through a number of different ways. Well, we're the trustees of it out there in the public. Yeah, I mean we engage it in commerce, or we can just not use it, right? But it's just like your car, Blueberry back. I'll give you that perfect example. when you have the equitable title or the legal title of it, you can do all kinds of things with your car. You can slam it in a tree, you can pee on it, you can change the color of it, you can get new seats on it, you can speed, you can do all these different things. But if you don't pay taxes on it, the controllers will come get it, okay? Well, the same thing with the U.S. citizen. You can engage in contracts, you can express wills for it, you can set off debt with it, you can do all kinds of things with their property, okay? But if you operate outside of their guidelines, the ones who created it, they will come on you. They will come after you. Now, again, at the end of the day, if you get in front of a courtroom and you understand exceptions to the hearsay, protocols and procedures for admissible evidence, like courtroom mechanics, on and on, it doesn't matter what the truth is. It matters about what you can prove. So, quote unquote, even though the SPC process is garbage and it is not wise to put a lien on someone else's property, and the states are trained to not accept any USCC that has the same entity name, whether or not it's uppercase or lowercase, that liens up the same entity. Even though they're trained in all that, and it's a fine that you can get in trouble. Just putting all that aside, there is a very, very, very slight chance to get some type of legal remedy inside of a courtroom, because it doesn't matter what the truth is, it matters about what you can prove. And since in the public they swear an oath to uphold the public bankrupt system, if you come in there with the priority paramount security lien and all that stuff, no one's going to hop out of the woods and go, oh, the U.S. citizen was a trust created by the state, you can't really do that. But the IRS will in private, or the federal government will in private, if you start doing certain things that you shouldn't do. You know, that's just kind of how it works. But the U.S. citizen, trust me, I spent 7 years trying to take the U.S. citizen out of jurisdiction of the creators of that entity, okay? And it's not yours to do that with. You can do so many things with it. Or it's just like an attorney. They're all just tools in your belt. If you want to use a U.S. citizen, you can pull that puppy out and play the board game with it. If you want to use an attorney, you can pull that puppy out and play the game with it. But like any other relationship, there are strings attached to it if you did not create it. You did not create the U.S. citizen. And when you tie it to the tax identification number, that is the linchpin that creates the U.S. citizen into a federal personnel. So you can engage in contracts of commerce on the monopoly board to start sending money and funneling it to the crown. But again, that is the U.S. vessel is a double-edged sword. It is easier to engage in commerce and contracts with it, but it also has 4 liens on it when you start off the bat. All right, guys, I'm probably getting near the bottom. Let's see. Would you advocate for trust equity? How do I express my trust to the state? I suggest reading Weiss's Concise Trustee Handbook and checking out my website under Business Structures Trust. I have a lot of different information that can help. Todd, so don't put the SSN in an ecclesiastical legacy trust in conjunction with the other entity. No. So the Social Security number belongs to the Social Security Administration. It even says that on the card, you know. Even though on the private, that's the public side. The Social Security number is the public side. On the back is the bond number. That's the private side. The Social Security number belongs to the Social Security Administration, okay, but it does turn the U.S. citizen into a federal personnel, because the code says anyone that engages in a federal benefits program is a federal personnel, and the Social Security is a federal benefits program. Anyway, I wouldn't try to put someone else's property inside of any type of trust unless you hold the true controlling title for it. For instance, you can put a house in a trust and it has a lot of protection because you're putting it inside of a trust, but it still has underlying strings attached to it. Like if you don't pay taxes on it, even if it's in a trust, it can get taken out of that because the tax lien has a priority lien over any of that property. FYP. Oh, thanks, Deep Discerner. I appreciate it. Spicy. I use the Bills of Exchange Act. Yeah, so a lot of that stuff is codified and copywritten on someone else's. So, like, for instance, UCC code is very powerful to understand how to bind other corporations, but we didn't create that. That's someone else's created that. So I always put, like, a box around anything that I try not to use the codes. I try to use the words, right? You know, which the words can't be copywritten, but the whole UCC code books are. So the codes are copywritten, but if you just use the words, you're good. Other entity meaning holding company. Basically, is there a need for 2 separate trusts? It depends on what you're trying to do, Todd. You know, what is your ultimate goal? Is your ultimate goal to try to keep the U.S. out of certain things? Is your ultimate goal to try to set up stuff for kids? Is your ultimate goal to try to help the world? I mean, what are you trying to accomplish? Spicy, isn't the crown a trust? The crown is a corporation soul. It is, everything is a trust, quote unquote, you know, when you break it down to brass tacks, but The crown is a corporation soul, and that's my favorite entity. That's what I suggest checking out. B Koopa. Oh, I got to slide a puzzle piece. Bam. B Koopa, where you at? Dang it, where'd you go? Would you ask for interest? No, you never charge your brother. Peace. What's up, awareness? How you doing, man? I've been out here for an hour. I'm getting ready to tap out, honestly. Thanks for coming on though. On Kansas soil, so we just pay and pay and pay. Well, it depends on what you're paying. Are you bartering or trading or exchanging? Are you using gold? Are you using someone else's property? Are you playing on someone else's game board? Are you engaged in federal zones? It's if you're playing on someone else's game that they created, then yeah, you got to go by their rules. You can create your own game. You can create your own law. You can create your own jurisdiction. You can create your own legislation. You can create your own tribunal. You can create your own parcel of land and get true controlling title of it. You can mine. You can well your own water. You can grow your own food. You can stitch and make your own clothes. How far do you want to go with your sovereignty? It's up to you. Okay, it's just completely up to you. But if you're going to use someone else's stuff, you got to understand the underlying strings that are attached to it. Phyllis, you box around what? Phyllis, you want to box around anything as to not commingle jurisdiction if you're using someone else's property like a UCC code on a contract. Because a UCC code is copywritten by somebody else, and it's like commingling jurisdictions depending on what jurisdiction you're trying to come from. And if you put a box around it, it's not there, but it can be seen. And UCC codes and stuff is only good to understand if you're trying to bind a corporation into contractual obligations that they are. All these corporations that are on the Federal Monopoly Board are bound by federal guidelines, accounting and practices and stuff. GAAP. Oh, I finished the hour-long reggae mix. Not ask, I require said interest from the corporation's soul. You can contract with that however you want. Like I said, when you understand that you're the sovereign and you can create any type of agreements any way you want, that's absolutely one of the ways you could do it. You could require, you could use a foundation as a bank. You can use a foundation as a bank to set money out to different trusts and do different things, private member says, yeah, PMA is a good way to operate as well, unless you're engaged in for-profit. If you're trying to engage in for-profit, there's a tax liability. But if you're doing a private membership association and you're only engaged in bartering and trading and exchanging and donations and stuff like that, you're good. Taxes, taxes, taxes. Yep, you're taxed on how you do business, that's it. And if you're going to be working for profit, which is a very insidious system, the way it's all established is to try to prevent for profit, because for profit promotes manufactured lack, greed, and sweat equity off people that the people at the top of the corporation don't care about all the bottom workers. It's just a board and people holding up a board. You can create your own city. Yeah, you can. That's what DC did. They put a false federal jurisdiction laminated over the entire U.S. I'm just gonna start another audio. Awareness Daily. What owns the majority of the land mass within North America? Are you talking about the actual soil, or are you talking about fake titles? Because DC kind of conquered all of the real land masses, quote unquote, and started this false federal stuff over everything. Todd, Daily Truth, no one but through administrative process. I mean, I would say the creator of the earth holds the majority of it. Reading the book, cracking the code. Yep, that's a good thing. The definitions the IRS uses is how they trick us. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a whole nother language. Legalese is a whole nother language. This music is way louder than the last thing. Spicy promissory notes to signatory to create securities. I wouldn't. When you're using a promissory note, typically you have to go through an agent to commingle your signature to create money from. Your signature is what creates an asset on the bank's books that they can monetize, but you need to go through an agent that's authorized to convert said signature into an asset on a book. Soil. Beacon, no one can own the land. That's true. And what's funny? You can take a handful of your soil here and take it to another state or another country or another part of the earth and set it there, and like what makes that soil any, who holds the title to that? Your body's kind of like partly soil. The creator created the land. We the beneficiaries. That's right. Absolutely. Awareness. If that's true, then whom does the government pay taxes to? The government doesn't typically pay taxes because all of their entities are set up not for profit, and that blew my mind when I found that out, because I thought for sure they were all for profit entities. But all the police officers, all the courts, all that, they're not for profit. They're operating not for profit, so they don't have to pay taxes, but they do funnel money all to the crown, which goes through D.C. through a trust in Puerto Rico's headquarters to the crown. Which were the underlying stipulations and terms to all of the colonies that started the businesses over here, the Virginia Company of London and stuff like that. All right, guys, I reached the bottom. It's been an hour. I love you. I hope you enjoy your weekend. I'm grateful that all of y'all came on here to be enlightened for a little bit. If you want to catch a recap of this live, it'll be on YouTube. The audio will be in my Telegram group. Thank you for the almost 3,000 likes. Feel free to browse all of my content. I've created playlists to help re-educate you. I have social media linked on my website, which is anointingthefoundationofpeace.life. That is linked on my profile page of TikTok. Feel free to grab that. I hope to catch y'all next time. Please feel free to DM me if I didn't get to answer your questions, or you can email me or write me, and I'll see y'all next week. Much love. Thanks for coming on here.